Hello everyone, this is the first video for Unit 1C about parallel and perpendicular lines. This comes from Chapter 3 in your book. First we need to identify some vocabulary words. So the first thing that you need to know are called parallel lines. An example of parallel lines, they are coplanar lines that do not intersect. For example, in this picture, line JK and line LM are parallel lines. This symbol means parallel to the double lines, vertical. In addition, this symbol here with the arrows shows that the lines are parallel. The next word is skew lines. These are lines that do not intersect and they are not coplanar. So now they are not on the same line. For example, line L and line M. There's no symbol for skew lines. Finally, we have the word parallel planes. These are planes that do not intersect. For example, plane A and plane B. Let's do some practice problems with identifying these together. So the first one says, identify all segments parallel to segment JP. I've already highlighted it in green. Remember, parallel means that they must be coplanar. So one option is segment LR. It's coplanar. They're both on this front plane, and they do not intersect. Similarly, segment KQ would be parallel to segment JP because they're both on the plane JKQ and they do not intersect. Next, identify a segment skew to segment KL. So remember, skew means that it is not coplanar and it does not intersect. So one option would be segment PQ. Another segment that is not coplanar and does not intersect segment KL is segment PR. Finally, the last option for a segment that is not coplanar and does not intersect is segment JP. So for skew, you have to look, when is it not coplanar and it does not intersect? So we cannot use QR because it's on the same plane as segment KL. So it's called a parallel line to KL, not a skew line. Finally, identify plane parallel to plane PQR. I highlighted plane PQR. It's the bottom of that piece of cheese shown. The plane parallel to it, the one that does not intersect, is this plane above, plane JKL. Remember, you must use 3 points that are non-collinear to name a plane. Pause the video and try the practice problem below. Here are the correct answers. For the first one, we have FE, HE, FG, DE, and AF. Those are all segments skew to line BC. They are not on the same plane and they do not intersect segment BC. Now we're looking for segments parallel to line EH. Parallel means they have to be coplanar, so they have to be on the same plane. The only options here are segment CD or line CD. It asks for a segment though, so we'll call it segment CD, and segment GF or FG. It's the same thing. Finally, the plane parallel, since this is the side on the right, if you want to think of it like that, the one that's parallel is the side on the left of the cube. You could call this also plane ABF or any three letters on that plane in any order. So if you didn't have ABG, there are other names available too. Next, let's talk about some more vocab, all about angles and parallel lines. So these are all angle pairs formed by parallel lines and transversals. So the word transversal, this means a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at two different points. So for example, in the diagram, this line T, it intersects line Q and line R, so it intersects two or more lines that are on the same plane at two different points. It intersects here and here. Those points are not given a name on the diagram, but we see that it intersects at these 2 points. So the example of the transversal is line T. Next, we have consecutive interior angles. Notice that the interior angles are the ones that lie between the two lines that are not the transversal. So all of these blue angles are interior angles. These angles that are in the green outside those two lines are called exterior angles. Consecutive interior angles, they must lie on the same side of the transversal. So for example, angle 4 and angle 5. Or angle 3 and angle 6. They lie on the same side of the transversal in the interior. Next, we have alternate interior angles. These lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So for example, angle 4 and angle 6. Or angle 3 and angle 5. The next vocab word is alternate exterior angles. You can probably guess they are on opposite sides of the transversal in the exterior. For example, angle 1 and angle 7. Or angle 2 and angle 8. They are on opposite sides of the transversal in the exterior. Finally, corresponding angles, they lie in the same spot. They're the same side of the transversal and the same side of the lines. So, for example, angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. They both lie on the top left of the intersection. Similarly, angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding angles. They lie on the top right of the intersection. Angle 3 and angle 7 is another example. They lie on the bottom right. And finally, angle 4 and angle 8 is the last example. They both lie on the bottom left of the intersection. Let's practice identifying these pairs in a diagram. First, we want to classify them as alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or consecutive interior. If it is none of the options, you'll just say they have no relation. First, we have angle 1 and angle 5. They lie on opposite sides of the transversal, and they are on the exterior, so they are called alternate exterior angles. Feel free to abbreviate. Next, we have angle 6 and angle 7. They lie on the interior. Notice the interior is this space here. Since they're on the interior and they're on the same side of the transversal, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this transversal in black so we can continually look at it in a different color. They're on the same side and they're on the interior. Those are called consecutive interior angles. Next, we have angle 2 and angle 4. Those both lie on the same side of the intersection or in the same spot. They're called corresponding angles. And finally, angle 2 and angle 6. They're in the interior, but they're on opposite sides of the transversal, so they're called alternate interior angles. Pause the video and try the practice problem below. Here are the correct answers. I'd like you to answer D on your own. Next, we're going to look at a little bit of a tougher example where we have multiple intersections. So we first, on these problems, have to identify the transversal that connects the pair of angles, then we can classify the relationship. So if we're looking at angle 2 and angle 4, what I like to do is highlight the lines that create that angle. So these two lines, M and N, create angle 4. If it helps you to just highlight them partially, that would work too. This angle 2, is created by line N and line P. So which line is used for both angles? Line N is used for both angles. So I know line N is the transversal. Next, I need to identify what type of angles they are. They're in the same spot, so they're called corresponding. Next, we have angle 5 and angle 6. Which line is used to form both angles? Angle 5 is formed by line M and line P. Angle 6 is formed by line P and line N. Line P is used in both, so the transversal is line P. What type of angles are they? They're in the exterior and they're on opposite sides of the transversal, so they are called alternate exterior angles. Next, angle 4 and angle 7. Angle 4 is formed by line M and line N. Angle 7 is formed by line M and line P. Line M is used in both angles, so line M is the transversal. The type of angles, they're on the same side of the transversal in the interior, so they're called consecutive interior angles. Finally, angle 2 and angle 7. Angle 7 is formed by line M and line P. Angle 2 is line P and line N. Line P is used in both, so the transversal is line P. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're in the interior, so they're called alternate interior angles. Pause the video and try the practice problems below. Remember, if there's no relation, that's okay too. You can just put no relation. Here are the correct answers. And finally, for your reflection question, please reflect on this. If there are multiple lines intersecting, how can you tell which line is the transversal? That's all I have for you today. Have a great night.